streams that go towards paying the dividend on the platform. So there are several services or products in DeFi that I feel like are going to be the next wave of development. And I would say that's privacy, that's lending, that's insurance, and that's gaming. These are the four that I feel are very strong utilities and use cases in DeFi moving forward. And I wanted to tackle lending first because it's a model that we see there's a ton of demand for it. There's all of these platforms like Celsius, and there's a million of them that are centralized models that are custodial, meaning that you're giving control of your tokens to this centralized entity. And this is always going to be high risk. It goes against really the ethos of crypto, not your keys, not your coins. And it's a step in the wrong direction, I feel. But I saw a vision to be able to do it utilizing a truly trustless and decentralized model. And that's what Animal Farm does. Animal Farm is the first decentralized ownership, yield aggregating, and lending protocol. And what it allows you to do is take your collateral, whether that's, say Link BNB LPs or Link single asset or BUSD single asset. We have a whole list, something like 25 different pools and farms that you can add collateral to. And when you add this collateral, so when you stake on the platform trustlessly lends that capital to PancakeSwap. And we're starting with PancakeSwap first because PancakeSwap, as we know, is a decentralized model that utilizes trustless contracts and is low risk. It's the lowest risk yield aggregating platform that we can lend to. So that's, of course, what we're going to start off with because it allows us to continue to be, even with this back-end lending, fully decentralized and fully trustless. And when you lend this capital, when you stake this capital into Animal Farm, it's generating 30 to 40% APY on the back end for you, which is being generated in Cake, which gets swapped for BUSD and paid out to the stakers in Animal Farm. But it's also earning you a native reward token, which can be utilized on the platform to farm our governance token. And our governance token represents your share ownership of the platform itself. So as you stake these governance tokens, you're securing your share ownership of the platform. And what that means is all deposit and withdrawal fees on the platform, which would typically go to founders and typically go to developers, are instead going to you as the governance holders, the true owner of the platform. It also means that you have a say, as in a vote, on future roadmap proposals. So, for example, we have partnerships vaults coming in about a month. And that's going to allow our partners who want to have an incentive for people to add liquidity to their project to give us a share of their supply, either that or we have other ways where we can do a buyback model where their token is used as a reward for our platform. And when people stake our partner's token with one of our native tokens, they're earning our partner's token. So we have these partnership vaults coming in a month, and this is one of the proposals that the governance holders and governance stakers will be able to vote on. Do we want to partner with this project? And we also have another example of one proposal that the governance will vote on is this back-end lending that we're doing to PancakeSwap. It gets paid out to the governance staking pool in the form of BUSD. So the 30, 40% APY on all of the TVL on the platform. So it's likely going to be billions of dollars. So tens of millions of dollars worth of Cake. It will be swapped for BUSD and paid out to this governance staking pool in the form of BUSD. And it will be up to the governance stakers to determine how often this injection happens into the pig pen. And we're going to have a vote. Now, every vote, first, we speak to the community and get suggestions for the community. And then we go with the top 3 to 5 suggestions. My team and so on my team, it's me as the founder. I have 2 Solidity devs. I have a full-time auditor, and I have a front-end dev. And then, of course, I have a marketer and 2 project managers. But we go over the proposal and the top suggestions, see, okay, what is this secure? Is this sustainable? Does it make sense for existing users? Will it be beneficial for new users? Can it be done in a fully trustless, decentralized way? And if it checks all these boxes, then it goes up for a final vote in front of the governance stakers, and they decide which one we go with. And one of the first things they'll be voting on is how often these injections happen. And we'll likely put in front of them once a week, once a month, or quarterly. And this is what I mean by the first fully decentralized ownership yield aggregating and lending protocol. It's truly the stakers of the governance token who earn as the founders and owners, and who are making the final decision on proposals. Now, the reward token that you earn from non-native staking, you have to remember that if you're doing non-native staking, so BNB, BUSD, Link, BUSD LPs, whatever it is, you're earning our reward token, which is called dogs. This yield that is being generated in the back end from this lending is being paid out in the form of BUSD to the governance pool. The way that you get the governance token is either by buying it directly off the market or utilizing those dog tokens to farm it. So the people who are earning this reward token, in order to get the full yield that they're generating on the platform through lending, they have to utilize that reward token to farm the governance token, or else they're leaving an extra 30 to 40% minimum APY on the table, which obviously is going to be a heavy incentive for them to, instead of selling these reward tokens on the market, they can utilize them to make a high yield BUSD dividend by putting them to work, by farming the governance token with them. And now, as an additional incentive, and this is another major innovation that we have put together on our platform, is a unique vesting model for the reward token. So current vesting models work by locking up tokens. So they lock up your tokens and then say once a month or once a week or quarterly, those tokens unlock and they hit the market, and everybody knows that's holding the token. Okay, in 1 month, a bunch of people's tokens are going to unlock. I should dump before that happens. Even people that are supporters of the project know that, okay, if a bunch of tokens are about to hit the market, even if I'm a long-term supporter and I believe in the project, I still am better off dumping before that happens and then buying lower. So we wanted the benefits of a vesting system, which is not allowing the reward tokens to immediately hit the market, without the negative externalities of having predictable unlock events and without actually locking up the user's funds. So we created a variable tax structure which starts off the reward token with a 90% tax. So effectively, it's not locked, but there's no incentive at all for the user to sell it. And then when this user stakes it in what we call our loyalty staking pool, which is the dog pound, they reduce their tax by 1% a day while earning BNB that is generated from the tax. So when someone swaps the dog token 3% of that swap is burned, making it deflationary, and 1/3 of the tax applied is swapped for BUSD and paid out to the pigpen, the governance pool, and 2/3 is swapped for BNB and paid out to the loyalty staking, where people are reducing their tax. So when you get your reward token, you are heavily incentivized to either use it to increase your share ownership of the platform to earn a BUSD dividend, or put it into the dog pound, the loyalty contract, to reduce your tax over time while earning BNB from the people who are transacting with a tax applied to it. So we are the first yield aggregating model that allows you to secure a profit in both BNB and BUSD without ever needing to sell the native assets. And you're heavily disincentivized for selling the native assets, not by force locking your token, but by creating a great reward structure for people who are staking the token, and then a variable tax which adjusts based on your positive actions in the system. So you're reducing your tax by having a positive impact on the network as a whole. And for doing so, you're making a high yield BNB and BUSD dividend. And now we have a auto compounding pool for the dog pound, and we have a non auto compound, so a linear pool. And if you get into the linear pool, your BNB becomes immediately claimable as you earn it. If you get into the auto compounding pool, then the BNB that you're earning, half of it gets utilized to buy dogs. It gets paired, and that LP goes into the governance mastership contract to earn you the governance token pigs. So it allows you to earn compound interest in both BNB and the governance asset, which is increasing your ownership of the platform. And not just through the incentive structure, but also through the services that we're providing to other platforms through our lending model, which is actually creating profit generating cash flows, right? Because when we lend to PancakeSwap, they're using it to fill order books. They're using it to support their other products and their native assets, which is generating profit. So it's very important to me that if we're going to pay out a BUSD and a BNB dividend, this dividend is actually coming from a service that we're providing that's generating value. And this is where the majority of this BUSD is coming from, not just from, say, selling our native assets to get this BNB or to get this BUSD. We don't do that in any case. And when we're talking about 30 to 40% APY on our the TVL, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars, which will be paid out in BNB and BUSD. And then the incentive structure, which is transacting or migrated capital for people who are doing negative impact on the network to people who are doing positive impact on the network. And when you have all of these incentive structures combined, plus the high yield that's being out without ever needing to sell the native assets, our platform is designed, and our native assets are designed to be the highest price performing yield aggregating tokens that have ever existed. And I would argue the highest yield paying assets that have ever existed, because we know DeFi has the ability to outperform traditional markets by far, and we are designed better than any other model that does yield aggregating or lending in all of DeFi. I would say the number two would be PancakeSwap, just because even though PancakeSwap is using the same incentive structure as everybody else, they have mastership contracts, but people see them as lower risk. They have a good reputation, and there's always going to be some demand, no matter how bad the incentive structure is, to earn yield on your tokens that are just sitting in your wallet anyways. So there's always going to be this demand on PancakeSwap as what is seen as a lower risk option. And Animal Farm allows you to get all of the benefit of being in PancakeSwap, plus the additional cash flows and incentive structures that are taking place on our platform, which is increasing the yield and making it easier for the average user to manage their assets in a more favorable way for them and the network. So I know that's a lot there, and there's a lot more I could go into. I would say one more thing just to wrap up my overview of it is all these other platforms that are paying out a yield in an asset that is emitted. So it emits tokens every block to pay out reward, are blindly inflating their supply with the same amount every block, and that's irrelevant to what the current demand for that asset is, how it's performing, how many people are in the yield pool trying to earn it. It's just blindly inflating the supply block after block after block, and that's one of the reasons these assets bleed out. Another major innovation that we made with Animal Farm is something called a dynamic supply control algorithm, and this algorithm uses a decentralized and trustless model, right, to take in several values, such as the price and volume and other metrics, and determines what the current demand for the underlying assets are, and adjusts the emission rate within a sustainable range based on this demand. So at Animal Farm, we understand that no matter how well you develop something, all markets have high demand and low demand cycles. It's just how markets work. And our decentralized dynamic supply control algorithm allows us to adjust the supply to restrict it in times of low demand and increase it to the higher end of the sustainable range in times of high demand to make the staking pools more attractive. And the two major influencers or movers on price is, of course, supply and demand. And the one thing that we have control over more than anything when it comes to this ratio is the supply aspect. So when we go in times of low demand, the supply control algorithm recognizes this trustlessly by taking in the values which are coming from the different decentralized oracles, such as PancakeSwap, the price and all of that, and adjust the supply. And it can adjust the supply in 4 phases. And the lowest phase of it allows the asset to actually become deflationary, because the taxes which are burning the native assets on transactions are enough that if the supply supply control algorithm adjusts it down to this the lowest emission rate setting, the burn rate is actually higher than the emission rate, and now you're earning yield on a deflationary asset. And there's nothing like that exists in DeFi. And it's just another major innovation. There's so many other things that we've done. We have 2 games that are fully developed that will be launching within a couple months after launch. We have another major project that I would love to come and talk to you on that's launching Q1 of next year. That's going to provide additional utility to both Drip and Animal Farm that I'd love to talk about. I don't want to get into it now because I've gone on for a while, but I would say that's kind of hitting some of the main points of Animal Farm. We want to create real utility that is generating yield through cash flowing services and a better incentive structure than any other yield aggregating and lending protocol that exists. And there's some stuff that we're going to do that's on the roadmap that maybe we'll get into in a bit, but I know it's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in.
Yeah, you got the general idea, right?
Yeah, briefly, man. That was so much information. I know that I was speaking to Benson before we even started this evening. Benson said that he actually had a few questions for you regarding the project too. For me, there's only one other similar project that's also working to sort of include people in exclusive financial systems that they would normally be excluded from. Because I was reading over your website, etc. Like, obviously, I've known you, and I know you're 100% spot on with what you do. But this was a little over my head too. Benson, what was it that you specifically wanted to ask Forex?
Yeah, and anything that I don't know, feel free to ask me about it. I'm an open book. You can ask me any question.
Yeah, not much, to be honest. You've definitely solved a lot of the thoughts I have towards the content that you're providing. It's been very detailed. Like the way you've explained things to the community today has been super detailed. I'm still left with a few questions that might sound a bit redundant, but the fact that the project acts like a deposit that then gets reinvested for the community, that then gives, equally, let's say, equal shares to the investors where they have passive income. Is that the actual concept that people are looking at? Because a lot of people are confused. I'm getting DMs as well on Telegram. They don't really understand how their position towards the token is being held.
Okay, so the main utility for the native tokens are, one of them is a reward token, and you get this reward token for staking non-native assets. Basically everything except for Dogs BNB, Dogs BUSD, Drip BUSD, or Dog staking. Anything else that you're staking on the platform, you get rewarded in Dog tokens, which is the reward token. And this Dog token allows you really two actions. You can either put it into the Dog Pound loyalty contract, which is going to reduce your tax on transacting it by 1% a day, and pay you out BNB, which is coming from the transaction tax on it, or you can utilize it to increase your ownership of the platform as a whole by getting into the Dogs BNB or Dogs BUSD pool and earning the governance asset. Now, the main utility of the governance asset is it allows you to earn all of the deposit. Well, actually, the way that all of the deposit withdrawal fees, 75% of it gets swapped for BUSD and paid out to the Pigpen, so paid out to the governance token staking pool. The other 25% gets swapped for BUSD and buys back Dogs and adds decentralized lock liquidity to Dogs. So the all of the deposit withdrawal fees that get paid out to the Pigpen get swapped for BUSD and paid out to the governance staking pool. So you're earning, as an owner of the platform, because you're earning fees and taxes, which would typically go to the founder and owner, and that by staking the governance token, that is how you access all of the APY that's being earned through the back end lending to PancakeSwap. So there's going to be some percentage of people who are doing the non-native staking and earning the reward token Dogs, and either trying to do speculative trading with it, or putting it into the Dog Pound linear pool, so they're not earning the governance token and they're still earning BNB with it. But if they're not earning the governance token, and they're not buying the governance token to get into the Pigpen, the staking pool, then all of the yield that they're generating on the collateral that's in that non-native pool, that 30 to 40% APY, that's still being generated, and that is being swapped for BUSD and paid out to the people who are in the governance pool. So if you're in the governance pool, you're not only making the 30 to 40% APY that you generated on the back end, but also a share of the people who are generating that collateral, because they're in the non-native staking, but not using their reward tokens to actually increase their ownership of the platform. So there's several ways that people can utilize both assets. And we have another model, which we didn't want to do at launch, because we may want to do a separate promotion of it. But there is a cross-chain utility that PancakeSwap is utilizing, and it's known as a very solid cross-chain product that allows you to earn yield through staking native assets. And potentially we will be lending collateral to them as well. So we need to do a bit more engagement with their development team to make the final decision whether we will decide to do that or not. But due to the fact this will be something that's added after launch, it will be a separate pool, so people will opt into it if they decide to do that. But this is another way that we're generating cash flows through providing services that are generating fees on other platforms and allowing us to earn a yield. So you're earning a yield in BNB and BUSD, both through the incentive structure of the platform and through cash flows, which are providing profit-generating services on other platforms through lending.
Got it. I do think it is a lot clearer now to people in which position they are towards, the whole animal farm ecosystem. I like what you bring into the table, to be honest. I do think he's definitely a very, very, let's say, complicated concept to understand to newcomers to the space. So I do believe, and I strongly recommend to, narrow it down into the simplest form possible for people to understand. When I went through the website this morning, me myself, I've been in the space for years, and I do understand the terms and stuff, but I do put myself behind the skin of a person that does not know, and they might have a hard time understanding what they're getting themselves into. So I definitely recommend to get a simpler idea to throw out to investors so that they understand a lot better as well. That's just my personal opinion here. It's not absolute.
Yeah, I understand that. So what I would say is, when I'm speaking to you and I'm speaking to your audience, I want to give you as detailed of a description of what's going on in the back end and all of the functionality of the system. For the average user, it's really as simple as any other like yield farm or staking protocol out there, minus maybe the variable tax on the reward token. But absolutely, education is a big thing, and the reason why this is something that is that requires education is because it's actually innovative, right? We're actually doing some unique stuff here that provides value to the user. And like when we speak about lending, so when we're doing our back-end lending, it's being done in a non-custodial way. So we have these strategy contracts, which are allowing people, just by staking in the platform, to lend to other platforms, and that asset that they're lending out is not accessible to us, is not accessible to the platform we're lending to, as far as them being able to withdraw it in any kind of way. And only the user who staked those tokens have custody and have access to their assets. And there's no other lending protocol that operates in this way that is fully trustless and non-custodial like this. And we know that there's a high demand for lending protocols, and to have a model like this, I think it's important to bring to the table. And absolutely, education is going to be, it's going to be a challenge, like as always, when you try to do something innovative. And we're working on having like short animations to help onboard people. If you go to our landing page, you'll see that at the top we have like a 10-minute video, which I think does a pretty good job of breaking it down. But if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a video on how to set up a MetaMask, how to import Binance Smart Chain wallet, how to use your fiat to buy BNB, how to move your BNB from Binance onto your wallet. So, and then below that, we have another article so people can read it in text and be able to copy paste and do all that stuff. So we are making a serious effort to help onboard like the very beginner users. And then we have a pretty great community with strong moderators and admins who I feel have done a very good job of kind of holding the hand of the new user. But absolutely, like this is something that is it's a financial product that's innovative and it has real utility. And financial products that actually have utility are not always the most simple thing to understand. Like they're not as simple to understand as buy this meme token and hopefully like Elon posts about it or something. So it comes with the space, but I appreciate your advice absolutely, and I agree with it. Right, it's something that's going to be something that we have to work on constantly.
Certainly, mate. I do think mainstreaming complicated concepts is the way to go. You know, we are in a very early space. We are in a space that is definitely not mainstream whatsoever. So it is definitely important to be able to make things accessible for everyone. That way we can attract a lot more masses, and that way we can definitely reach to different users. Let's per se customers as well. So lovely, mate. I'm done with my questions, to be honest. And we've had a lovely AMA so far.
Yeah. So what some of the wording that we use, like we use a loyalty model for the Dogs token, and I think the reason why we chose to go with that is because people understand loyalty models. They understand, even their grocery store may have loyalty points where you get discounts and you get special savings if you are using the platform or using their store for a period of time. And we try as hard as we can to adopt theming and kind of phrasing that the average person who isn't educated on DeFi will understand. And we also have a pretty strong referral system. So people can refer others to the platform. They make a percentage of what the user generates in the system. So it's not a model where just by referring someone, they make money, or just by having someone buy the token and maybe sell it right away, they make money. No, it's a system where the person that they refer actually has to generate value in the system before any kind of value is given to the person who did the referral. And having a referral system, I think, is very important for onboarding, but it needs to be a referral system that is solid, that's not exploitable, and is not rewarding bad behavior. So our referral system, that we have referral systems in basically all of our products. We decided to go with a more modest referral system with Animal Farm than with Drip, because I found that the more aggressive you go with the referral structures, it can sometimes turn off some of the really big players in the system, like the major exchanges and stuff like that. So we decided to go with a more modest but still very effective referral system. And I believe that people will recognize the value of this platform over time. And I think we have a major, a lot of hype, a big wave of investors and community that are very excited for launch. We just did a live interview yesterday that got 11,000 concurrent live viewers. And it broke the person whose channel we were on record by like 5x. And there was another very large developer and founder who was doing an interview the day before, and we more than 4x his numbers as well. So there's a huge investor base that's very excited for this, but and I think that we're going to have an amazing launch, especially because of the incentive structure that makes it so it doesn't make any sense at all to sell on launch. It makes sense to utilize those tokens to earn a dividend, and then over time, your tax is reducing. And it's going to be up to every person to decide when it makes sense for them to sell relative to how much they've reduced their tax. And that's kind of when I spoke about earlier, the vesting model, where the traditional vesting model is just kind of unlocking large groups of people's tokens at a time, and that creates a predictable sell pressure, which people will front run, and it has a compounding negative effect. With our platform, we're using this variable tax, and what that does is it puts it in the hand of every individual when it makes sense for them to sell. And it's the dog token is designed to appreciate in value rapidly because of the variable tax, which makes it which it highly disincentivizes selling. And so we're going to see, or it's designed to see, a very rapid and strong price appreciation, and then it'll be up to every staker and investor to decide, okay, I've been in the loyalty contract for 2 months, I've reduced my tax all the way down to 30%, the price is up 10x, maybe it makes sense for me right now to sell, even though I'm seeing a 30% tax, because it's up 10x. And then that person will make that decision. When they do that, 30% of that value, which is 10 times more than what it was when they initially got in, now gets swapped for BNB and BUSD. 1/3 gets paid out to the government staking pool in the form of BUSD. 2/3 gets paid out in BNB in the loyalty system, the dog pound, and that further incentivizes everybody else to say, okay, I could get out now. It's up 10x. I would pay 30%, but I see other people are getting out now, and I'm making all of this BNB, so I might as well stay in a little longer. And it's really just whereas the traditional vesting model is just the stick. This is the stick and carrot, right? Where actually the incentive structure provides a reward as well, not just locking the tokens. And this aligns, as I was speaking earlier, the incentive with the individual and the network as a whole. So, with the referral model, with the vesting, and with the real utility that we have, and also the supply control, which is adjusting the supply relative to the demand for the assets, we're going to see, I believe, just a major move at launch. And then there's going to be the onboarding phase where we're doing this education, and also I see this with a lot of my other projects that I've done. There's always a class of large capital that kind of sits on the sidelines and says, okay, I'll wait. Maybe I put 10% in at launch, but I'll wait to see, does it have a smooth launch? Is everything functioning? Is everything running smooth as butter? Okay, now I put in my 10 million or whatever. So I expect a very powerful launch, but I expect a continued growth as we perform and as our game theory plays out the way it's designed to play out. Another thing that's going to help with big money coming in is our audits. So we have a Paladin audit. We also have a open source audit, and it was important for us to do this. So we used a suite of auditing scripts called Slither, which anybody can access on GitHub. And as long as you can run Python scripts, you can go on and you can audit all of our contracts. All of our contracts will be made open source at launch, and that's important to us because that allows every user to not only go over the code and understand exactly what they're getting into, but also run these auditing scripts and cross-verify that exactly what we're saying is happening, and you don't have to trust us, and you don't even have to trust some centralized auditing firm. You can run the scripts yourself, and we ran those scripts for the user, so the user can check the report on that, but they can also run it themselves. That's very important. And then also, someone that I work with in another development group does technical audits for major publicly traded companies, and we hired him as an independent developer to come in. He had no part of developing any of the contracts, and I wanted someone who was a serious developer to come in and do his own independent testing of all of our contracts and an own audit of all of our contracts. And that was done as well. So people can check out the Paladin audit on the site, but you can also run the scripts on Slither. And that isn't something that we have to make available because anybody can run it themselves. It's on GitHub, but we will make it available on the front page. And this being open source and being able to show the that we've put in the work as far as security, and we're fully transparent, and we're telling people this is how you audit our code. Please audit our code. I think will go a long way for making people feel confident about getting it here.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for the explanations. I think we've been going on for an hour now. It's been an insane interview with a lot of content. So I hope people are not overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, I would say, if you have any questions, please just come to the Telegram and we can break everything down for you.
Yeah, that would be a wise choice. That would be a very wise choice. I always do so. I always tell people to join Telegram, to be a part of the community and ask the questions, the needed questions. Anyways, I'm not sure if Trav has anything to say about it, so I'm definitely going to give the mic back to Trav.
No, I mean, I think he does a very, very good job of explaining it all. Obviously, it's some quite complex concepts within that I think, it would be necessary to join the Telegram about. I did tag below the actual Twitter page of drip community. That's tagged below. As always, we're actually doing 6 listeners winning 0.3 BNB tonight. I will announce that straight after as well, and get those sent out immediately because otherwise I just get so piled up with things. So I'm just going to get that done immediately. And yeah, it's honestly been great having you on, man. Is there anything else you would actually like to say, like before we conclude here?
Yeah, so I want to respect your time. I really appreciate you having me on. We have some stuff coming up, in the future roadmap that I would love to come on about. Two things that I believe that are necessary to come into the crypto space is currently right now we're doing collateral lending to decentralized institutions. PancakeSwap, a bridge we'll be working with very shortly after launch. But on the roadmap next year is to be able to do individualized collateralized loan. So people will be able to take a loan for themselves based on the collateral that they have staked on the farm. And we already have the logic worked out for that. It's just something that, things need to be released in their own time. And that will be something that we are very excited about, which is going to bring a major utility to DeFi that is very much needed. And then an insurance model. That's another thing that we will be adding to the roadmap next year. And I never want to build something that only services our protocols. So basically everything I develop from here on will be fully scalable and able to be utilized by all of DeFi, or at least all of Binance Smart Chain. So these lending models will allow people to lend collateral, not just our native assets, but their own native assets, and using kind of a reverse difficulty mechanism where the more collateral there is and the more lenders there are, the less interest the lender collects from the person who is issuing the loan. So we have so much coming up. This is a major long-term project, which is going to be developing, for the next few years at least. Like, we already have a roadmap for things we want to build up for the next few years. We have 2 games that are launching, which provide utility for both the dog and the pig governance token. And those will be dropping end of year. One of them will be dropping in December. The other one will be dropping shortly in Q1 of next year. And I would say stay tuned. Join the Telegram group. Follow Travladd and our co-host, who I've never met before, but nice to meet you. And we have an amazing launch plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow at noon. Be in the Telegram group. Be following on Twitter because it's going to be explosive. So thank you so much, guys.
Absolute pleasure to have you on. I loved how you labeled Benson as the person you've never seen before.
Hey, I never talked to you, you know?
This has happened twice in 2 days and it's brilliant. Okay, thank you very much for coming on. Yes, guys, obviously, he doesn't play around. Forex doesn't play around. Check out the Twitter, check out the Telegram. We'll be announcing the winners as well immediately. And have an amazing day, everyone. Thank you for signing up. Always appreciate it. I hope you see some great projects from these, actually. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you do enjoy listening to these because, you know, you could really find the next explosive project. So, yeah, I think we'll conclude it there. Have a great rest of your evening. I'm not going to waffle